What still pisses you off to this day? The last season of Game of Thrones. I binged it before the final season. I got super pumped up. Man! What a letdown! By far the most spectacular bed-speeping I've ever seen unfold. The community died so fast afterwards too. Shows/series like The Office, Harry Potter, Atla. They still hit the front page all the time, having not made new content in like a decade. Got content used to hit the front page daily. I haven't seen or heard a Game of Thrones reference or post in a long time. Used to see it many times daily. What a disaster. I never watched GOT at all. And hearing how bad the ending was, never heard any spoilers tbh. No idea what happened made me a little sketch into wanting to watch it. I don't want to get sucked into this wicked storyline to just be let down by the end. It's like watching Dexter. Just stop after the 4th season. The intent is to provide players with a sense of pride and accomplishment. The comment. In all its infamy. I can't believe that it's been over 3 years since that comment was made. I can hardly believe it either. Nice username by the way. Haven't seen a Casey at the bat reference on Reddit before. I had a teacher during my freshman year of high school who offered to remove the lowest assignment from our grades if we did some kind of extra credit assignment. I ended up doing it because I had one late assignment that was dragging my grade down significantly, but he changed his mind after I already did the assignment to say that it doesn't count on late assignments. I happened to record him that day because I didn't have a pencil to write down what he was saying, and told him how he said that it could be used for late assignments as well. Instead of keeping his word, he just ignored my email and then proceeded to tell me how I'm making up things he didn't say. He wouldn't even hear me out, and it still bothers me how some teachers just disregard their students because they think they know more than them. Had a teacher like that in high school. I realized when I got older she was definitely some kind of narcissistic disorder type. Made a lot of sense. I learned to tie my shoes when I was 3. Learned all by myself. Then in class 3, not sure what it would be for other countries. First year after kindergarten 6 and 7Y/0 kids, the whole class was taught to tie their shoes, and every kid got a diploma when they could do it. Except for me. Because I didn't tie them the exact same way the teacher did. Still pisses me off. I have now learned 3 ways to tie my shoes. Chances are there's many more ways. That's gotta be frustrating. It was frustrating enough to still hold a grudge over 30 years later, lol. She was otherwise the best teacher I ever had. But haven't ever forgiven her for that. When I tell people that my mum made my wife's wedding dress, I get universally positive responses. It's a good time. And a fun tidbit from our wedding. When I told one of my previous co-workers, their response was, "Can't you afford a proper one?" That was the moment I realized they weren't actually my friend. At least you know that co-worker will never be able to maintain a long-term relationship unless it's with someone as equally valid and shallow. Her boyfriend worked in the movie business, so was frequently away for extended periods of time depending on where filming was happening. I think that's how he put up with her. In like 5th grade, a long-term substitute teacher claimed I drew on the table with marker. First off, that speep was there before I got there. Second, you look like a beaver. Upvoting for the beaver comment. Upvoting for the beaver comment. I was 8 months pregnant and out doing errands with my 3-year-old daughter. I had just gotten into my car and I was waiting for my daughter to put her buckles on. All of a sudden an old lady smacks my back bumper with her huge Ford truck. I got out of my car to look at damage and exchange information, etc. The lady completely disregards me, even though I'm yelling hello, hey, toward her. She just goes into Home Depot. I call the police and they say okay. Someone will be there soon. The jolt from her hitting me caused me to have a batch of contractions that felt like hell. I really thought I was going to go into labor. Finally this lady comes back out and has employees load up her truck. I confront her on video about how she hit me, my bumper was knocked bad, and told her the police was on their way to assess what happened. She ignored me, waving her finger, and she keeps saying I would have known if I'd have hit you. I wouldn't hit anyone in this truck or my husband would kill me. And drives off. Over an hour after the lady leaves and my contractions finally calm down, an officer walks up to me. I show him the video. Tell him what happened. And he says okay. Well, I have her license number. So I'll just go drop by and see what happened. Weeks later I find out the officer that helped me retired, but someone else had the case. The original officer basically went and knocked on the lady's door. Asked if she hit anyone. The lady said nope, and because she had the plastic cover deal on her bumper, she was able to wipe my paint off her bumper, so there was no proof she did anything. Pissed me off. She hit and ran. The reason it took so long to get an officer in the area is because there was some race marathon or whatever in downtown Salt Lake City. So the officer that responded was from a ways away. That is also ridiculous. You shouldn't need every officer in the state's capital to sit and patrol a race. My own stupidity in school, I listened to a guidance counselor and wound up owing good money for a useless degree. God. My guidance counselor was useless. Nobody in my family had ever been to college. I kept going to her for help. She did nothing other than hand me a student loan application and a National Guard GI Bill packet. I was working through college 2 beeping years before I ever even heard of a Pell Grant. A highway driver ahead of me had not cleared the heavy accumulation of snow and ice off his car. Before I could change lanes to avoid him, a wall of ice-encrusted snow let loose and slammed into my windshield and front end, doing damage to the finish and causing several fractures in the glass. The driver just sped off, apparently oblivious to the harm his negligence had done to my car and for temporarily obstructing my ability to see clearly as I maneuvered to the shoulder. Beeper. Back in 8th grade while running track and field, I used to compete in hurdles. During one competition, I scored below the cutoff time. I don't exactly remember, maybe 15 seconds. And went to report it to one of the coaches. He told me to remember it and tell him the next day during our regular practice time. So I did exactly that. I remembered my time. I was real proud of it. And then told him it the next day. Well, this heathen doesn't remember a damn bit of our conversation. And thinks I'm trying to lie or something. Since the hurdles weren't set up yet, he wouldn't even let me prove myself again. Eventually he threatened to make me run around the track for the remainder of practice if I didn't leave it be. I wasn't able to compete in hurdles entirely and ended up running 800 dashes. I hated 800 dashes. It's been over 9 years and I still think about this. Beep, that guy. Ruined my love of hurdles and desire to keep running track and field. How my high school went on this giant were very anti-bullying rant when I first got there in 10th grade, and then when I got severely bullied in grade 11. They did beep all to help the situation. They just victim blamed instead, cause that was easier than fixing the problem at the source. Even got the police involved, and the school cop legit told me girls will be bitches and went on about how if she was my age she would have just beaten her up by now. Once again, doing nothing about the problem. Just basically telling me to suck it up and deal with it. Learned real quick, no one cares about bullies. No one cares enough to fix the problem at the source. No one cares enough to help you. No one cares at all. Period. I had a similar problem with bullying. There was this girl. who was an antagonistic bitch to me for at least 10 months going on a year. I reported her on a regular basis to the school. The school said they'd talk to her. Maybe that's good enough the first time. Not when this is the 20th time I've heard that sentence recently though. The icing on the cake is that one day I finally snapped. And I called her an immature beeping bitch BC she high-key was. She then had the bare-faced cheek to go to the same head of year I'd already reported her to and complain that I'd said something mean to her. And also got her bitch of a friend to tell the same bull's peep story about how I'd attacked her out of the blue. Boof beeping who for her. Must be so hard having the victim of your bullying stand up for herself. Despite the fact that head of year had the full context on what had been going on. That knew full damn well that what I'd said was not without good reason. She called my mother in. And told her about how I was the one who had done wrong. Bless her. My mum, being the savage sweetheart that she is, told the school that I had been this girl's victim for several months now. Backing up everything I'd said, and that bunch of beeping morons still somehow put 2 and 2 together and made minus beeping 5. Because the bully got away with nothing and I got an in-school suspension. Apparently they had to be seen to be taking action, and that if they let me off for snapping at her then it wouldn't be fair. You know what's not fair? That I got bullied for the best part of a year. And I was the one who got the punishment simply because I got pissed and gave her a piece of my mind. The thing is, if the school had done more than just talking to her, i.e. actually giving her a detention once in a while, I'd have never had any problems with her at all. She left a year later. But the lying piece of speep friend who backed her and lied on her behalf, they both exaggerated what I said as well. Saying that I used a C-bomb and the R slur. And given that this whole thing was about autism-based bullying, YTF would I say that? Made a point of doing the same thing to me a year later and exploiting my emotional problems. And given that we'd been smushed into a dorm room on a school trip together due to mutual friends at the time. This was just a beeping nightmare. I tried to explain to the same DIP's peep teachers that she was being an asshole. They ignored me. Mutual friend backed her for it. Don't know what happened to the original bitch. But I can tell you that the lying friend who made up a crock of lies to get me suspended is now a beeping mess. She exploited my emotional problems. But I pulled through. And she's now permanently high on weed. Never turns up to any of her classes. And has less of a future than the spider in my bathtub. I guess karma got involved in this case. But it doesn't stop me being beeping pissed. Sorry for the rant. I just hate that the same school that let all this happen is still claiming to be anti-bullying. Same as yours.